Hello everyone, and thanks for listening. So I wanted to make this video an extension of the one that I just made because there was a lot of interference, and if you saw the video I just had put out, it was about the issue of Bron James losing endorsements and support because of a debacle that they had been having with the issues that are happening in the Hong Kong protests and China and some of the issues that were political. And so I had some things that I was saying, but I noticed that when I made the video, I couldn't hear the interference. But once the video was put out, all of this interference just all of a sudden came into the video. So I know someone else might have seen it and manipulated it because this is such a hot button topic. But I wanted to put out this video so I could better explain my position on the issues that have happened in Los Angeles over the years. So over the years, there have been problems between the Asian communities and the Black communities, and it is not a secret. And so this is, however, not to bash, but it also is to bring light to some of the things that the Black community has experienced with the Asian shopkeepers in dealings and being heavy patronizers of the businesses of, it could be Korean, it could be Vietnamese. We had liquor stores, we have nail shops, we have laundromats, we have food, fast food, a lot of Asian-owned businesses here in Los Angeles, and there has been some past and some present, even today, experiences that have been extremely negative with some of those shopkeepers. Some of it has been posted on social media more in the recent years. There was an incident where two women, they went in a nail shop and they were attacked by a group of Vietnamese women. There has been this incident right here that happened in the 90s where a girl, she went into the liquor store to buy some orange juice, some candy, orange juice, I believe. She had the money, but she was gunned down because the shopkeeper, quote unquote, felt that she was stealing. There has been stereotypes about Black people from that particular group of Asian shopkeepers who, some of them, assume that we're coming in the store without money or we're going to steal. We all are criminals, we're all thieves, and we're not to be trusted. A lot of the businesses that are owned here in California of Los Angeles have been Asian-owned businesses, and the most of the money that they earn is from Black community, and they usually set up shop in poor Black communities. And who heavily patronizes those groups has been and still to this day has been largely Black people that live in the communities. The beauty supply shop, most of the beauty supply stores with the Black hair care products, braiding hair, shampoos and all kinds of hair care products and lotions and what have you, 99-cent stores. There was a thing where there were liquor stores on every corner, but they had activists that were trying to get rid of that because it sent a negative message about the Black community, and what they were trying to push in the Black community and who they were targeting. Even the billboards on down to that, most of those businesses were where Black people were shopping, swap meets, nail shops. There liquor stores that were put on every corner. There are clothing stores and the little swap meets, the little mom and pop store businesses, 99 cents, were Asian owned and operated. And there had been issues where for years black people had been victims of either gun violence or being accused of stealing and being gunned down or being accosted in those stores, or there has been some issues where people are doing something they shouldn't be doing, but that's not the whole group. And so a lot of times when that particular group of people, Asian owners and shopkeepers, come into the black communities, they just want our money. They want our business. They want our patriotism. They don't want to hire you. They don't like black people. That's the messages that they send off. They want you to come in, spend money. If you don't even spend money, you come in to look at something, even though you may have the money, they want you to hurry up and get out. And so there has been a history of this. So this right here, I'm putting out aside. It's an extension. It was in the other video, but you couldn't probably hear it because someone had manipulated it, and I'm hoping they don't manipulate this one. So it says, how the killing of Latasha Harlins changed South L.A. long before Black Lives Matter. So there's been a history of violence, a history of a rift in the black community and the Asian community. And I'm not going to play these videos. I'm just going to read this article. And I read the article in the previous video, but I'm going to read it again. It's by an Angel Jennings, a staff writer for the LA Times. It's a generation ago, long before Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and the Black Lives Matter movement. The death of Latasha Harlins lit a fuse inside the Los Angeles African American community. Latasha Harlins, who was only 15 years of age, was shot in the back of the head by a Korean woman who owned a South L.A. liquor store. The killing was captured on a grainy screen security video. On the national stage, her case was overshadowed by a video that surfaced just weeks before, one showing Los Angeles police officers beating Rodney King. So that's what spurred the 1992 riots in Los Angeles. But in Los Angeles, Latasha Harlins' death had a profound effect in both the black and Korean communities. For blacks, the killing became a symbol of the dangers and indifference faced by African American youth. Those feelings turned to rage when the woman who shot Harlins, Soon Ja Doon, avoided jail time. That, along with the not guilty verdicts in the King case, became a rallying cry during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. And so the woman in the middle with the black scarf is Latasha Harlins' grandmother, and the other family members and the community members that raised candles in memory of Latasha Harlins on the 25th anniversary of her shooting death along Figueroa Street in LA. So for the Korean Americans, the case prompted soul searching and debate about the rocky relationship between Korean immigrants who own liquor stores in black communities and their customers. The Latasha Harlins incident made it absolutely clear that Korean Americans are not spectators to the unfolding American racial drama nor bystanders, said Edward J. W. Park, an Asian American Studies professor at the Loyola Marymount University. They were now intimately and inextricably implicated. Latasha Harlins' killing inspired songs and a book, but the memory of her death faded in a way that the King's beating never did. The King case resulted in changes over the years in how LAPD officers were allowed to use force. Latasha Harlins' death, however, left no standing monuments or policy changes, something that haunts her family, even now to this day. So I'm adding that in there. All these people came to the surface, said her aunt Denise Harlins, but nothing was ever done. That still bothers me to this day. So on March the 16th, 1991, 25 years ago this week, Latasha Harlins walked into what was called Empire Liquor Market and Deli in South L.A. Accused her of trying to steal an orange juice that was priced $1.79. So witnesses said that Latasha Harlins, who put the orange juice in her backpack, intended to pay for the orange juice and that she had $2 in her hand at the time of the incident. So after Dew grabbed her sweater, she grabbed Latasha Harlins' sweater. The teen then punched her in the face and broke free from the woman, knocking the store owner to the ground. Latasha tossed the orange juice over the counter and walked towards the door. So Dew picked up a .38 caliber handgun and fired a shot in the back of the girl's head, killing her instantly. Police later concluded that there was no attempt at shoplifting. So a jury found Dew guilty of the voluntary manslaughter, which carried a maximum sentence of 16 years in prison. But the judge, Joyce A. Carlin, gave her probation of 400 hours, community service, and a fine of $500. Latasha stands as a sad symbol of criminal injustice. Writer Erin Aubrey Kaplan said, "She was the most innocent of innocents, and she was 15 years old at the time, not even of legal age. A girl. The community saw this as an execution." The case also reflected deeper tensions that our African Americans have complained for years that Korean merchants treated them with rudeness and contempt. Korean merchants in turn said that the language barrier hurt communications and that the high number of gang crime that were in the area at the time, some of which claimed the lives of Korean store owners, put them on edge. So in the weeks after Latasha Harlins' killing, Denise Harlins launched a crusade to preserve the girl's memory. Harlins formed 2 organizations bearing her niece's name. She invoked the teen's name during the protest, and she made plans to turn the market where Latasha Harlins was killed into a community center named after her. And so here you see an activist that is talking about what had happened, and most of the people are still remember, and they still have never forgotten.
You can find places in Huntington that nobody's around all the time. It's got space. That's what people need nowadays. I've always felt.
Come on out, people. We're going to have prayer for Latasha Harlins' family. 100 days, 100 nights of prayer. We got to pray about it. We can't just talk about it. Pull up with this be about it. We got to get on the front line. We need more men to come out, stand up, and be accounted for. Come on, brothers. Get up on off the couch. It's time for you to stand up and be accounted for. Let's pray for this family. Let's pray for this community. Let's pray for our future. These are our kids that we're bearing out here. 100 days, 100 nights of prayer. We're going to keep going. We're going to pray about it every day. You'll get tired before we get tired. We're going to pray about this situation. Let's go, people. Let's take it to God.
Over a bottle of orange juice. And 25 years later, the community is here to say today, we're just not here to remember Latasha, because trust me, we never forget Latasha. We never forget Latasha. 25 years ago, we protested, we were in court, and we stood shoulder to shoulder with this family. And 25 years later, we're here today to say, we are still here with the Harlins family. We love you. When Soon Ju shot and murdered Latasha Harlins, he didn't just shoot and murder Latasha, it was actually shot and murdered everyone in South Central L.A. 25 years ago. That's how much it hurt. That's what pain we went through. But we're going to make it together collectively, and with the family 25 years later, Latasha will never be forgotten. She lives with us through your children, through your family, through the DNA of the Harlins family, through South Central L.A. So I'm glad to see everybody out here tonight to show their respect and support and love for Latasha and our family. Harlins family, Denise, you know, I love you.
Don't wear your balloons or IOG biodegradable, so they will not harm a bird, a dog, nothing. So no strings on the balloons, but
Okay, so that basically is a snippet video of I believe it was like in remembrance, like a candlelight vigil. It's Naji Ali and other activists who speak at the vigil for Latasha in reference to Latasha Harlins. So it goes on to say in the article, in those early months, there was a swell of support from politicians, activists, and residents. Now let me stop for a second. I'm going to add some things in here because I was rudely interrupted with the Bron James issue because of a statement that was made from teammates and having to do with the Bron James issue. And so the reason why I used the Bron James issue to connect this story to somewhat that story is because here in Los Angeles, California, Los Angeles, there's been a history with the Asians community and the African American community. There has been some severs and some ties that have not been mended because of some of the issues surrounding not only this Latasha Harlins issue, but the indifference and the treatments that Black patronizers and customers have gotten over the years from that particular community of Asian shopkeepers. And so I know that there are different Asian cultures. You know, there's Chinese, there's Vietnamese, there's Malaysian, there's, Filipino, there's all these different groups. But the shopkeepers, most of them, they set up shop in poor Black neighborhood communities. They have a lot of interaction with Black people when it has to do with money. And that's basically what it is. It's about a business. It's about not getting involved in any of the plights of Black people's problems. Just come in, spend money in my store, patronize my store, make us rich. We have liquor stores, we have swap meets, liquor stores on every corner, laundry mats we own, stores, fast food, Asian fast food, restaurants on every corner in Los Angeles. Just patronize us, give us your money, and be quiet and be about your merry way. Don't get involved with us. And then there's even the separation where they won't hire you in those businesses. The shopkeepers that are Asian owned, they don't normally like to hire Black people. They'll hire Latino people, and then they'll have the Latino people replace them. They would walk down the aisles and watch Black people as they shopped, because it was said that Black people are thieves and that we're criminals and we steal or we don't have any money. And so you'd be followed. They'd scan you with their eyes and they watch you go up and down the aisle. So now they have Latino people working for them that do it. And a lot of times some of those Latino people, if not, sometimes they're undocumented, and they'll have them working for them for long periods of hours and without breaks. And so I've known this to be true because I've seen that happen. Sometimes they'll have like sweatshops in the downtown of Los Angeles, and they'll have Latino women that are seamstresses working for long hours without breaks. And so I've known this to be true. This has happened. And so also in the Asian community, they have a lot of massage parlors. Some of them are legit and some of them are fronts, because they have people that are trafficked from those countries, young women that are Vietnamese and that are trafficked, and they have them prostituting out of those massage parlors. And there'll be judges, lawyers, doctors, and politicians and people going in there having sex for, and they'll get money for those type of services. So there's like, if you go closer towards like certain parts of like if you're heading towards from South L.A. to like you're going towards Hollywood, you'll start seeing more in K-Town and in the Hollywood area, up and down massage parlors, and it's usually dark. Some of them are legitimate and they really are businesses, and then they have other things that they're doing that are fronts. That is sexual favors for big name people. And so this has happened. And so people don't like to talk about this, and you get silenced for basically telling the truth. Bron James, he didn't want to intervene. He just thought that it was best to stay quiet, and he's being dragged in the mud, and he's lost endorsements for being quiet. He's about the business. And so now we have this situation here where a lot of Asian owned businesses, they're here in the poor black communities, and they're about business. They want you to patronize in the beauty supply stores. Who usually goes in there? Black women for black hair care products. It's heavily patronized by black customers. They want you to spend the money, which is going to be their money, and then they want you to be quiet and get out quickly as possible. And so I am not wrong for saying what is really happening. That is what is happening. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want you to mention what's going on. That's what's going on. So it's the same thing. There's something that's going on in that country, and it has to do with the political rights of people. They're protesting and they have rights. Well, guess what? All lives matter. Black lives matter, as well as the Asian lives that matter, and the white lives that matter, and the whatever blue, black, and green lives that matter, and the animal lives that matter. So the same plight that they're having in their countries when they want people to say something and speak on them because they have a large platform and they have a voice is the same thing they should be doing when black people are getting gunned down, we're getting shot, we're getting killed, like this situation right here, or we're being accused of stealing when we have money, and just because of stereotypes and racial discord and disdain for us as a culture. Right now, they're holding up signs of LeBron James. They're burning his face and making a mockery and making fun of him simply because he just wanted to stay out of the situation and just be about the business of ball game and all of that. But they took it a whole nother way, saying that he's siding with the government. He may just wanted to just be neutral on all fronts because he did not want to start a backlash. But even just not even wanting to intervene can create a backlash, as I see. But that's the way I see it. That's basically what the message that I put out there. And so it's not saying that one is doing the wrong thing. What it's saying is what is wrong is it's contradictory that you can come here and set up shop in poor black neighborhoods. You want our money. You want us to patronize you, and you want to be about the business, but now something's happening in an Asian country, and it's political, and you want a black person who's very influential in Los Angeles to come out and speak on your issues when we have had issues for years, and you are silent about those. That's what I'm saying. So in those early months, and there was a swell of support. This article here from politicians, activists, and residents. But as the years wore on, the rage that fueled the movement had faded. In regard to Latasha Harlins, the crowds at the protest thinned. Dreams a center died as Latasha Harlins felt forced to move on. Although she had hoped to be able to make a difference in that system. And so Latasha Harlins' Justice Committee called for Carlin, the judge who issued Du's sentence, to step down. Activists protested at her home on the steps of her doorsteps and the courthouse where she had worked, and they collected signatures in 2 failed efforts to recall her. Carlin remained a judge until stepping down on her own in 1997. She long defended her handling of Du's case. So the committee pushed for the district attorney to appeal the sentence, which he did. A state appeals court upheld the sentence in April of 1992, just a week before 4 officers were acquitted in the beating of Rodney King. and the ensuing of the riots that happened in 1992. So now, when the nation is again grappling with the issue of race and discrimination, Latasha is largely left out of this conversation. So at a candlelight vigil this week to mark the 25 years since her death, relatives inserted Latasha Harlins into the discussion in an attempt to keep her name alive. As we look at the families of Trayvon Martin and Zell Ford, we can do a roll call of racially charged killings, said David Bryant, co-founder of Latasha Harlins Justice Committee. We were like the forerunners of all of that misery, but we didn't learn the lesson then. UCLA historian Brenda Stevenson said Latasha's case remains relevant, especially with the new national debate about how the criminal justice system deals with African American young people today. So it's not just the police that's this damaged arena of criminal justice system, said Stevenson, author of The Contested Murder of Latasha Harlins. It is also the jury, the judge, and the prosecutor. Every level of the criminal justice system is problematic with regard to race and class as an issue, so with all kinds of social barriers that tend to marginalize people. And so that is the problem that we still have till this day in California, Los Angeles, and outside of California. It's happening all over with Black people. You want our money, you want us to patronize you, you want our hairstyles, you want our talents, you want our expertise, you want our talents on the court. But if we have a platform, you want us to speak on your issues, you want us to patronize you, you want us to be worrying and make a voice for your plight. But who makes a voice and who worries and who speaks on the issues of Blacks? That isn't Black. Who's concerned about that? Do we have the Asian people in their Asian community coming together with Blacks and siding with us? I have not seen a lot of that happen. I'm not saying that all Asian people are racist. I'm not saying that all Asian people are against Black people, but how I have seen it here in Los Angeles is that there has been social divides based on culture. It could not only just be language, but it's based on stereotypes and racial bias and discord and indifference. And basically on the issue about being about the business of coming here and gentrifying and cleaning up and getting money from poor Black people and making them a focal target of your economic gains. So it goes on to say that she said Latasha Harlins' killing was one of the reasons that rioters burned Korean-owned stores and businesses during the 1992 riots. So Park, the professor, said that although Korean Americans differed among themselves in how they viewed Latasha's shooting, it was one of the most defining moments for the Los Angeles Korean community. Some Korean Americans, he said, have felt Korean merchants walk into the middle of a long simmering racial tensions and were being saddled with an unfair share of blame. Others lamented that the killings squashed budding grassroots efforts to bridge African American and Korean communities. So including the Black Korean Alliance formed in 1986, still others were flustered that the frequent violent crimes against Korean business owners seemed not to merit much attention. For Korean Americans, the most confusing thing was, why doesn't the Korean life matter? When will the city mourn the lives lost and the American dreams dashed for the Korean store owners? Park recalled. If you run a liquor store in an inner city community, the price you pay is you don't get sympathy. In the aftermath of the riots, there were many efforts to ease tensions between Blacks and Koreans, including sensitivity training for merchants. A decade later, there was general agreement that the relations had dramatically improved. But There were a major demographic changes by then. Some Koreans got out of the liquor store business. The city pushed to reduce the numbers of such businesses in heavily non-white areas. Okay, so there was a group of activists that came in and they complained that there were too many liquor stores that were back to back within less than a 5-mile radius. They were basically put on every street corner in poor black communities, and most of the shopkeepers or owners and merchants were Asian owned liquor stores, which still persists today. That's still happening. It's not as many as they claim, but however, from what I've seen plenty of liquor stores that are in less than a 5-mile radius, and most of them have Asian people that own the stores and they're working behind the counter. They have shotguns and they have surveillance. So at the same time that South L.A. saw significant migration of blacks to the suburb areas and a new influx of Latino immigrants. And so we still have black people in Los Angeles, South LA, and all over California, but we also have the large population of the Latino immigrants that are here as well. And so what has happened from what I've seen recently is that they have employed some Latino immigrants that are undocumented in some of these liquor stores and stores, and they will work them long hours, and they replace them, have them look like they're moving boxes and things on a shelf and cleaning up, and they're really watching to see if black people are stealing. So it's no longer just Korean shopkeepers or Asian descent of shopkeepers that are watching blacks, shopping in the store. They have a Latino person that is keeping an eye out and looking as though he's cleaning up or mopping, but he's actually watching a black person to see if they're going to steal something. And so that's what I've seen. And so it's basically the same thing. It's just replaced with someone else doing it. And so during this week's vigil honoring Latasha Harlins, dozens of her relatives and family, people affected by her death, gathered to celebrate her short life. So some wore black and gray t-shirts that said, "Gone but not forgotten." So we are here to remember Latasha Harlins. Activist Najee Ali said that he had held a bottle of orange juice. We never forget her in the community of South L.A., of course. And so this is the kind of thing that I wanted to bring out, and I mentioned it because there has been a long history, a couple of decades of history where there have been a rift between the Asian communities and the African American communities, and how they've treated us as people in our own cities and neighborhood and communities. And so this is not a surprise when I see and hear that they don't want to really respect LeBron James, being it so that the games are like a big part of the country. They watch them and it's heavily patronized. But who heavily patronized the Asian community and population here in Los Angeles that I know of, and outside from what I've heard, is the black community. And so I just said that if black people never spent money in any of these shops, they would lose money the same way LeBron James lost his endorsements. Because as they heavily patronize the ball games, well, black people, they go to the laundromats, they go to all of the beauty supply shops, the nail shops that are primarily, most of them are owned by Asian shopkeepers. If they start turning their money and their financial endeavors towards black-owned businesses, then those other businesses would fail. Because most of the people that go in those businesses, most of them, a large group, have been black people going into those businesses. There have been some Latino people going into those businesses, maybe more the nail shops, but by and large, a lot of the black hair care, black women are usually going in there buying a lot of those products. If we stop going in there, then who's gonna buy the products. I mean, most of us do go in there to buy those products. Um, I'm not saying this to create more controversy, which would probably would for the the fact that people take things so personal. But it's true, there has been problems over the years. There has been discord. There has been racial tensions between the Asian communities and the black communities in the Los Angeles areas. We have the Sloss and Swap Meet, which most of those set up are Asian owned. The whole thing, most of it, if it's not got Latino people that work in some of the little shops, and then most times you have like people that are from out of state or from another country that open up a business and they're able to thrive, but you don't see as many black owned businesses, and that has been talked about over and over and again. And so it has been a big problem, and it still has been problems with it. If you go into the gas stations, there's been some shopkeepers that are Asian or Korean descent, and they have put pictures up of black people looking as though that they're the only ones that come in there that are doing any crime, as if no Latino people steal, which I have seen that happen in those shops, where they'll have like, there used to be two Latino guys that would come into the 76 gas station where over by USC, and they had these two old ladies sitting in wheelchairs that looked like they were sick. And they would play this game. They would come into the gas station, and then one of the women would act like she was having a seizure, while the other guy, the Latino guy, was in the back. He had was filling his backpack, filling the lower compartment of the wheelchair full of some of the items on the shelf, because that Asian shopkeeper was distracted with the old Latina woman having a seizure. That was the game they were playing. And then they would, as soon as the lady looked like she was coming to, then they would go and wheel the other woman out, and they'd have bags full of stuff they stole. And I'd see this like every week, but yet you never see their pictures posted on anything. You'd only see like maybe like little small time petty criminal or something like that, somebody taking a pack of bubble gum, and I bet most of that was because they were agitated because of how they were treated by that shopkeeper. A lot of times they have guns behind the counter. So we know, as black people in the community, we have a long history with the Asian community that own these businesses that a lot of times they're rude, insensitive. They've even hit women that have come in the beauty supply shop. There was an incident where a woman, she went in with her little boy, and the little boy took something out of the store. She went to go bring it back, and then the shopkeeper punched the black woman. No outcry, no outpour from that Asian community on how wrong that woman was treated. Yet she went back and told the little boy to take the item back, and he was just a little kid. So it's being viewed again. Oh, see, they steal. And how many little kids take things out of the store that don't belong to them? And you have to teach them not to do that. If it's candy or they see some toy or something and they're just little and they're learning, that has happened before. But the point is, the woman brought it back. But to be punched in the face for trying to do the right thing, it doesn't make any sense. And so these are the things that nobody wants to talk about. So, okay, LeBron wants to stay quiet about his debacle. He wants to try to stay quiet. So he's being accused of being too silent because he's like a big figure, or he's being accused of siding with the government over there in China. And so now he's being eviscerated on Twitter because of his having to even say anything, even though he's not made any political, say so. It sounds like he's trying to keep out of the riffraff because he doesn't want any backlash, but he's getting backlash for trying to keep out of it and trying to respond to someone else. Don't make comments on it. And so that's what I'm saying. And so my video, the previous one that I did, I wanted to keep it up because I wanted to see how social media will have people that'll manipulate your videos if they have a personal feeling on an issue, which is unfair. And so we have the same thing that happens over in those countries where people intervene and they don't want you to speak out on what is right and the injustices that go on in your communities or in your cities and towns and states. The same things happens here in the U.S., where when you come out and you tell the truth about issues that have long been historical and that have been injustices to people of your group or your culture, someone takes offense to it and they try to silence you, or they don't want you to speak out on issues, or they don't want you to speak out about not speaking out. Having said that, I'm going to let this video go. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for listening.